Welcome. Today we are going to dive deeper into initiation into self-mastery. We're going to cover a few important aspects on this topic, just enough to give us a sense of what is self-mastery, how does self-mastery look like, because I feel like through through time and space and traditions and concepts, there's so many theories around this topic. Every tradition has a version of self-mastery, whether they call it enlightenment, self-realization, self-actualization. There's so many ways and shapes and forms of describing what this is. And I was like inquiring to myself, I was like, what do I want to share about this? What was my journey really? How do I feel that I mastered myself so far? And how would I like to share that with people? So everything that comes through is from my own personal experience and from my own um, interpretation of this. There is no conceptual uh, teaching or belief that I have about this. It's pure raw experience through life, not just in this lifetime, but in many other lifetimes that I saw and work to release any karmic debt. So I actually worked with 7 generations of seven other incarnations that I had in different lives that I had to release karmic debt from, whether that was collectively or for my own journey. And also, when we do that, we're actually retrieving gifts from these lifetimes. When we have past lives remembrances in who knows different kingdoms in the past, it always comes with a remembrance, and with that remembrance there comes an embodiment, right? So, and a gift. And I remember at some point I was working with someone that we did a few sessions. I guided this person a little bit in one-on-one, and throughout the journey she started to sing, and what came through was a very ancient Middle Eastern voice of a deep, wise woman coming through her, and she never accessed that before. And through that came the memory of a past life somewhere in Middle East. I think Persia or something. I don't remember exactly. I think it was Persia. And so this is how powerful this is. This is how powerful and how deep self-mastery goes. It spans beyond lifetime, beyond this current lifetime. This is just basically the tip of the iceberg of how many lives we lived before. You know, and so it's safe to say that self-mastery is a continuous journey. It's a continuous journey that never ends. Because in these human vessels we can only expand our awareness more and more and access more of our potential, activate our DNA and access more and more of our potential. So it's not like you reach a destination and there you are, you're now enlightened, and you don't need to do anything anymore, and you don't expand anymore. That's not, we have been sold that a lot of times as the destination. This is where you can reach and that's the destination. But the truth is that whether you believe in enlightenment, ascension, self-realization, whatever form of self-mastery you believe in, that's just the beginning. This beginning of a new version of you, and then a new version of you gets reborn from that, a version that is more at service, a version that has power, way more power than the previous one. And so what do we do with that power? How do we weave that power in creation? That's a deep question that we have to ask ourselves and also answer. And that all is part of self-mastery. So I want to speak about 4 specific things when it comes to self-mastery that helps us initiate ourselves, I believe, into this knowing of what it takes to be on this journey and what is really important. Okay, so this is what I received. Okay, so the first thing is that Self-mastery is not about concepts and beliefs, as I said. It is not about what Hinduism says, what Buddhism says, what Kabbalah says, what Christians say, what Muslims say, whatever other religion say. It is not about that. Every single teachings, tradition, and scripture can guide us to truth, but the truth is that they were also, through time, manipulated, transformed, and I would say even inverted to a certain degree. Depends on who was ruling in those times and who had power over this, uh, deep teachings and wisdom. So I believe that we can find that answer within ourselves. If we all ask ourselves deeper and we are able to listen, we can find the answer of what does it mean self-mastery. How can we initiate ourselves more into this? And this is what I asked myself. I was like, okay, what does actually self-mastery is? Beyond the concepts, beyond the beliefs, beyond traditions, beyond what this teaching and that teaching says, which we can respect and we can guide ourselves through, but important is to listen to ourselves. And that is part of self-mastery, is to learn how to listen to yourself on a deeper level. So for me, self-mastery, it's about walking every day more with the knowing that I am the creator of my reality. That the creator exists inside of me and inside of you and inside of everything around, because the creator is a frequency, is an energy, it's a force. Right? It's not someone that decides things for us. It is a force that we can access. It's the force that has created everything in creation. Right? From stars to galaxies to planets to animals to human beings to everything. So how can we live connected with that force? How can that force inhabit this human vessel that we have? That is for me self-mastery. Because the more we are rooted in that frequency of the creator, the more we are connected with our mission, with our purpose, with our soul, with what we came here to do. The more every action we take has impact. We walk with presence, we walk with certainty in life. And this is what I discovered from my journey. The more I strive to attune myself to that energy, the more masterful I become in everything I'm doing, whether that is eating an apple or teaching a session here live, or having a one-on-one deep client session, or even taking a nap. There's a mastery in how you take a nap. How you position yourself. Is that in the shade or is it in the sun? It all affects you. And so it's a deep awareness of yourself and your surroundings, right? And your environment, your impact in the environment, and how the environment has an impact on you. So that is what self-mastery is. And how to access that is to basically realize it is logic, right? It's not so much about believing and spirituality here. It's literally science and logic, that we are made from the most powerful force in creation. We are birthed in this human form through the feminine, through the womb, all of us. This is highly intelligent creation. Right? So we have to trust that this is what we are. This is who we are at our core. We are creators, creating reality constantly, creating our lives, creating the meaning behind our lives, attuning ourselves to different destinies. Because I believe that before we came here on earth, I believe that we created, I don't even believe that, I feel that, I know that to be true. I actually saw that in a vision a couple of years ago, how I have chosen different movies, It's almost like there's a library of movies that I have, maybe the same movie in different ways. And at each step of my journey, I can choose that the choice I make creates a new destiny, creates a new timeline, a new version of me that experiences life in a different way and also has an impact on life, impact in the creation in a certain way. And so when we are listening deeply to that creator within, not to convince ourselves that that creator exists. This is not about convincing ourselves that we are creators. We are already that creator. That is proven by reality, you know. That is proven by the fact that we exist. So we don't have to prove ourselves, I'm a creator or I'm not a creator. We are all creator, whether we create by default or whether we create intentionally. Right? Most people create by default, and they create through the programming they received, through the education they received, the conditioning they received, the patterns of their parents and family and so on, and also the karmic debt from other lifetimes. So it's all about being aware of all of this. This is the environment, right? Being aware of all of it and alchemizing that into what do I really, really want in this very moment? What do I want to experience? What do I want to live? Where am I heading? What would be my experience? What am I excited to live and dedicate my life towards? This is what, for me, self-mastery is all about. How do we walk that path in creating ourselves and our lives and the impact we have on this beautiful planet? So it's all about being in charge of our energy, of our energetic imprint, and our attention. So the more you can be in charge of your energy, where it goes, how you process things, what happens inside of you, what are you experiencing right now, the more masterful you are going to be. And you cannot be 100% masterful. We know that the subconscious mind controls us 95%. We only 5% or 10%, let's say, it's conscious decision and conscious processing, right? 90% is subconscious. But when we are aware of that, when we allow the subconscious to do its thing and we see what it leads, to what action it leads. Some people by default think negatively. There are some people here maybe in their lives that are triggered by what I'm saying because I invite them into a new layer of perceiving reality, into a new frequency. Other people might be excited to hear this and they resonate and they say, oh wow, this makes sense. Thank you so much. So we cannot have influence much over how information is received externally, but we can have influence of what wants to come through us. When I'm here with you, this is a purely free flow session, transmission. I only prepared a few guidelines, and based on that, the energy takes, like my channel, like the creator inside of me takes over basically and expresses my truth in the way it feels that the people in front of me can resonate with. So it depends on the container. It depends on all the things around us. So this is what I mean by being in charge of the energy. I'm aware of it, right? I'm aware of this moment, of the next moment, the immediately next moment. I'm not aware of the next 5 seconds, what I'm going to say in the next 5 seconds, but in this very moment, I'm aware of what I say and how that is, delivered to the person in front of me. So in the same way, we can observe our own thoughts. Even if it comes from the subconscious, even if it comes from a place that we have no control over. Be aware of how you deliver something, how something comes out of you, and what impact does it have on yourself and reality in front of you, your community, your family, the person that receives your expression. that is self-mastery, being aware. And when you are aware, then you can focus the attention a little bit in the direction that you want to, for the energy to go towards, for the communication, the expression to go towards. What do you want to create with that expression? And these moments, to give an example, every time I do a public speaking event, every time I'm in front of like a large number of people, or maybe I'm a DJ as well, so I create through music, I create vibrations and frequencies so that people feel certain things. So this is always the invitation, is how aware am I of the crowd in front of me? What do I want to deliver to that music? How do I want people to feel? So this is what I mean when I say you are in charge of the energy. You are in charge of the output that comes through you. That is part of self-mastery. It's not about, oh, I'm aware of how I feel and what's inside of me and how to regulate myself. That is first part. That is important. But then what do you put outside of you? It is also highly important and also part of self-mastery. So if we are aware of these two things, these two main things, how do I feel inside of myself, what is my current experience, and how do I express externally, that is already a great place of self-mastery that we activated inside of ourselves. That is how we walk through life with the most possible presence every single moment. Now, how do we cultivate more of this, right? Because this is something that might happen for half an hour, 1 hour, 10 minutes. But have you noticed that each time you deliver something, you create something outside, it's almost like you are in that state, you are in that flow state, and at some point you get out of that. You simply get out of that. You get either tired, or you want to take a break from it, or you just want to come back to your humanness and feeling yourself, feeling your body. So the training is to deliberately choose alignment, to deliberately choose that presence. And you can extend that to 24 hours. I've been 12 years ago, I had a Kundalini activation. Okay, I didn't do anything special for that to happen. It just happened to me. And since that moment, for 1.5 years, I was completely present at every single moment. I was completely conscious at every decision I took, every intention, every thought, wherever it went. Completely. Right? So that was the most impactful time of my life. It feels like in that 1.5 years, I created my entire journey. I put pieces of the puzzle together in that time that I don't even have to think about and concern myself with anymore. So I don't know what happened. I don't know why. I think this was part of my destiny, but that was my deepest, most profound awakening I ever had. So for 1.5 years, it's almost like I could not get out of being present. I was constantly present. It felt like I was superhuman. I was like, I know at some point I needed $30,000, and I manifested that in 1 week. Everything I was thinking was materializing almost instantly. It was really a very wild experience. I wrote about that experience in my book, and sometimes I still receive insights from it. So that was my most present time of my life. I was 1.5 years, let's say 95% present at every single step of my journey. until I had an operation. I had an operation, and I was having anesthesia, and that literally cut my Kundalini energy, and I woke up back in some sort of mental fog, I would say. Like I almost like amnesia. I forgot that I have that power to be present, you know. And so many of us, I realize that so many of us live by default in that amnesian state. And since then, I was always kind of back and forth to being present, going into amnesia, being present, going into amnesia, being present, going into amnesia. And this is what we all do. We're constantly practicing this frequency. So the mastery here is to deliberately choose alignment. You wake up in the morning, your mind has a default state. But when you choose, I'm going to align first. I'm going to align with the Creator first. I'm going to sit in a prayer, in a meditation, in whatever practice helps you to align with the Creator first. And you do that. You devote yourself to that practice. From that moment, once that is established, your whole day, you can experience a whole day of full presence. Personally, if I bypass that moment in the morning, when I do not choose intentionally to align myself with the Creator, with this knowledge and wisdom that I am that force, and that force runs through me and operates through me and executes every task I need to do in the day, whether it's to write a book, whether I'm seeing a client, whether I'm going to do errands in town. If I'm not attuning to that frequency, I might walk through life a little bit amnesic, or a little bit in the clouds of my own thoughts, thinking about this and that, thinking of my daily tasks, without necessarily being in front of my computer to execute them. What's the point of thinking of your tasks if you're not in front of your computer? You're going to utilize that energy, for no reason, because you cannot apply in those moments. You cannot show up for those tasks. So all of these things happen by default. We are constantly in this induced state of anticipation and worry and what if and what should we do, and we're actually not fully rooted and present with life, with every single moment, with what's in front of you. So self-mastery is to deliberately choose alignment, to deliberately choose to be in that state of alignment. Not let the day run past you, not let the first hour of the day run past you without doing this alignment work, right? And every single person has to do that. I don't care how enlightened we think we are, how aware we think we are. There is nothing to lose in choosing to connect a little bit deeper with yourself. Or the default is what? We wake up in the morning, we are scrolling on Instagram, we are scrolling on whatever platform. We are getting on this default state where we think about what we need to do at work, what happened yesterday, what was your dream, and all of that. If you self-correct, I would say, each day where your attention goes in the first moment of the day, in the first 10 minutes of your day, you have won the day. You have conquered that day, because once alignment kicks in, nothing else matters. That day is going to run in the best possible way. It's going to be the most efficient day. If we are run by whatever happened last night, whatever happened 1 week before, whatever will happen in the future, whatever we dreamed about, whatever is happening in the moment, whether the children make some sound or the dog needs to be taken on a walk, if we are run by that without really tuning in, sometimes it can take really 5 minutes of full presence with yourself, allowing yourself to breathe, allowing yourself to come back to life, and from there walk the journey, walk the path forward into whatever is calling you to create, to execute, to to do in that day. um, yeah, if you don't if we don't take charge of those moments, the default kicks in and we are living life by default, and we think we don't have power over us, over ourselves, and we need courses, we need reminders, we need this and that. So let's take charge of those 5 minutes of alignment each morning. And you can take these 5 minutes of alignment where you just, however you want, you can go in nature, you can listen to a sound, you can focus on your breathing, you can just be in silence for 5 minutes and just feel and be and allow presence to come into your body. You can utilize this in every single moment of your day. Whether you start in the morning and you do it at noon again, and you do it in the afternoon and in the evening, it's always going to be a benefit to bring you more into self-mastery. So this is what helps me. This is really what my practice has become. Set an intention, set even a reminder to deliberately be present in this moment for 5 minutes and see what happens. And take charge of the wheel of your life, of your journey. Just try it out, see what happens. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share about this topic. You can check below my offering, my community. I have a deep, intimate community where we meet 4 times a week and dive deep into reflection, all about, again, self-mastery, soul mission, conscious creation, divine union. And we just keep each other accountable and empowered. Every single Saturday we dive into a deep dive into a video meeting together with a very intimate group of people. So that is something co-creative, very powerful. Okay guys, sending you lots of love. Remember, you are the creator. The creator exists inside you. Be present with that every day a little bit more. Be deliberate with your energy. Choose to be aligned before you take any actions. Choose to be not in a reactive place. You have power over that. I know it seems like you don't, but it's you can train that. You can practice more and train that. I promise it works. It works for me. It works for people I work with. It works for friends that I have. So it works. This is why I'm here sharing with you. Have a blessed, beautiful weekend. I will see you next week. Much love.